Breaking news out of the MMA world, and it's nothing short of shocking. Ilia Topuria, the undefeated UFC champion and one of the sport's fastest rising stars, has officially announced that he's leaving the UFC to sign with the Professional Fighters League. No injury, no scandal, just a sudden game-changing move that's left fans and fighters stunned. Topuria revealed the news himself in a surprise Instagram live session streamed to millions. There was no UFC press release, no ESPN sit-down, just the champ speaking directly to his audience. And he didn't hold back. The UFC was a cage, not a company, Topuria said. Real fighters deserve real freedom. When asked whether he'd vacate his titles, he smiled and replied, "The UFC made me famous, but the PFL will make me free." That single line has already ignited a storm across social media. Clips of the announcement are going viral, and MMA commentators are calling this the Ronaldo moment of the sport. The kind of high-profile move that changes everything overnight. Sources close to the situation say UFC President Dana White is furious, while multiple fighters in the roster are left in disbelief. Topuria's decision reportedly came after weeks of behind-the-scenes negotiations and rising tension over his contract. This isn't just another athlete changing promotions. It's a seismic shift in MMA power. The undefeated two-division champion walking away while holding both belts marks one of the biggest stories in UFC history. Fans are calling it the end of an era. Others say it's the beginning of a new one, where fighters like Ilia Topuria are no longer content to play by the old rules. Whatever side you're on, one thing's clear: the fight game just changed forever. Joe Rogan has just weighed in on Ilia Topuria's shocking move to the PFL, and he's not holding back his excitement. The longtime UFC commentator and podcast host says the sport is entering a wild and exciting new era. Rogan praised Topuria as a monster talent and a true game changer, calling his decision to walk away from the UFC and join the PFL one of the boldest moves we've ever seen in MMA. According to Rogan, Topuria's departure isn't a loss for the sport. It's a wake-up call. He explained that this moment could push promotions to evolve, offering fighters more opportunities, more creativity, and more control over their careers. Ilia's not just chasing money, Rogan said. He's chasing freedom, and that's powerful. We're seeing fighters think differently now. They're not just athletes anymore. They're brands, they're businessmen, and they're starting to call their own shots. The UFC veteran went on to compare this new era to the early days of free agency in boxing and soccer, when the balance of power began to shift from promoters to fighters. Look, Rogan added, when guys like Ilia Topuria make a move like this, it shakes up the entire ecosystem. Suddenly, every fighter starts asking, "What am I worth?" And that's how the sport grows. Rogan's comments have already gone viral across social media, with fans echoing his sentiment that MMA might be heading into its most unpredictable and exciting chapter yet. Whether you love or hate Topuria's decision, one thing's clear: the MMA landscape is changing fast. And if Joe Rogan's right, we're just getting started.
Ilia Topuria, who's fighting Charles Oliveira at the end of the month, like, that guy is insane. That guy's knocked out two of the greatest featherweights of all time, Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Nobody could knock those guys out in featherweight before, and he did it. And he did it, and he made it look easy. You know, he made it look like they're like he's just on another level from everybody. You know, and then now he's moving up to 155 pounds. He's like decided he cleared out that division. He's moving up. Like, he's
insane. Yeah,
insane. There's guys like that are just so their level is above everybody else's level. And with Ilia, it's everything. It's his submissions, his kicks, his punches, everything. He can do anything. I mean, he does everything perfect. All his technique is perfect, and he's fucking driven and ultra confident. You know, this is an amazing time for the sport, man. It's a crazy time because these guys that are coming in with like one fight in the UFC, they look like world-class contenders, like right away.
Yeah.
What kind of food do you eat?
Most likely carbohydrates. I don't used to eat any proteins because it doesn't help you at all to have a great performance inside the octagon, because the protein doesn't give you any glucose that your body needs at that time.
So like what kind of food? Like pasta? Like that
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
pasta.
How good does that taste after all that time, bro?
Amazing. Amazing.
Before Ilia Topuria became one of the most feared fighters in the world, before the knockout highlights and championship belts, there was a time when he was just another hungry dreamer. a kid fighting to survive. What most fans don't know is that Ilia once worked 4 different jobs just to keep his MMA dream alive. He wasn't living in luxury. He wasn't promised fame. He was grinding every single day, training when his body was exhausted, and working late nights just to afford his next training session. He's talked about those days before, waking up before dawn, working construction in the mornings, coaching kids' classes in the afternoons, washing dishes at night, and still finding time to hit the gym. No excuses, no shortcuts, just raw determination. For Ilia, it was never about money. It was about purpose. He said it himself. If you want something badly enough, you'll find a way. No one's going to hand it to you. Those brutal early years shaped him into the fighter he is today. Every jab, every takedown, every moment in the octagon is fueled by the sacrifices he made long before the cameras were watching. And that's what separates champions from the rest. It's not just talent, it's grit. It's the willingness to suffer when no one's looking. Now, as Ilia Topuria steps into a new chapter of his career, leaving the UFC to join the PFL, that same mindset is still driving him. The same man who once worked 4 jobs to chase his dream is now redefining what freedom looks like in the fight game. From struggling to make rent, to shocking the world with one of the biggest moves in MMA history, Ilia Topuria's story is proof that greatness is built, not given. And if this is the kind of hunger he's bringing into the next stage of his career, the rest of the MMA world better be ready.
And I was working because I had to pay all the competitions. I was working in 4 works, I had 4 works.
What were the jobs, the 4 jobs? One was a cashier, right, at Stradivarius. Stradivarius?
Yeah. It's a story of clothes story. Okay. I was doing grappling classes in another gym. I was working on the beach, and I was working on securities on the weekends.
Oh, wow.
Ilia Topuria's shocking announcement blindsided the entire organization. Insiders say Dana White and the UFC top brass were scrambling behind the scenes, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The promotion had been preparing to build an entire card around their undefeated double champion, and now he was gone. Sources close to the situation say the UFC was already in talks to renegotiate Topuria's deal, offering pay-per-view incentives and a massive main event push on the new Paramount broadcast platform. But those talks reportedly stalled after weeks of tense negotiations. For Ilia, it wasn't about money, it was about control. In his own words, "I didn't fight my whole life to be owned by anyone." That single statement has sparked massive debate in the MMA community. Is this the start of a fighter revolution, or the biggest gamble of his career? Across social media, fans are split. Some are calling Topuria a legend for taking a stand, walking away on his own terms. Others say he's turning his back on the very organization that made him a global superstar. Meanwhile, over at the PFL headquarters, the mood couldn't be more different. League executives are calling this the biggest signing in MMA history, and they're already teasing his debut. Insiders say Topuria could headline PFL's 2026 season opener in Madrid, a move that would mark the league's biggest international expansion yet. As for the UFC, Dana White has remained uncharacteristically quiet since the announcement. No social media statements, no interviews, just silence. But make no mistake, the shockwaves from Ilia Topuria's departure are only beginning. His decision has already forced the entire fight world to look at one uncomfortable question. What happens when the fighters, not the promoters, start calling the shots? And that's the story shaking the entire fight world. Ilia Topuria's bold move and the new era it may ignite.
But I wanted to ask about the January card in Paramount, and what do you have anything special planned for that, and when do you start putting that?
Literally today. Matchmaking was today, and we started working on the
What do you think? Did he make the right call? Let us know in the comments below. This is Octagon HQ, your home for everything MMA. News, drama, and the stories behind the gloves. Stay tuned and stay sharp.